BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello everyone, it's Robbie Savage here. Thanks for listening in. We're recording these podcasts from our homes during the lockdown, so you might hear the occasional doorbell, washing machine, child, dog in the background. While I'm sat at home and still lucky enough that a lot of my former teammates and opponents still talk to me. So I'm going to get them on the line and put your questions to them, unless they've changed their numbers, of course. Zidane said about the player we're chatting to, he's almost untouchable in what he does. I never tired of watching him play. Xavi claimed that in the last 15 to 20 years, the best central midfielder that I've ever seen, the most complete, is Scholes.
Play back towards Scholes with a shot. Brilliant goal! Brilliant goal from Paul Scholes. And the man everybody's been talking about this week shows why he's such a valuable player for Manchester United.
Paul Scholes played his entire career for Manchester United under Sir Alex Ferguson, making 718 appearances and scoring 155 goals between 94 and 2013. He won 11 Premier League titles, 2 Champions Leagues, 3 FA Cups, 2 League Cups and a FIFA Club World Cup. Hello to my former Manchester United youth teammate and legend, Paul Scholes. How are you, Scholsey?
I'm okay, mate. How are you?
Wow, mate. What a CV that is. Can you imagine Zidane and Xavi saying you're the best midfielder of a generation? Oh, wow.
Yeah, of course, it's nice when players of that stature in the game saying nice stuff about you. Of course it is. I don't know if anybody's actually recorded them saying it, but if somebody's made it up, I don't know. But no, it's great. Obviously, these are the best players in the world. These are the players you look up to. These players won World Cups, European Championship. They've won everything. So if these players think that, then that's great. I'll take it.
Just think, Scholesy. Zidane and Xavi could have said that about me if you hadn't taken my place in the youth team.
I'm sure they think the same about you. It's just they've just not come out with it yet.
Right, Scholesy, our first question comes from your old England teammate, Michael Owen.
OK, Scholesy, so the question that I'd like to ask you as obviously aside from me, who was the striker that you think that you had the best relationship with, that almost you were on the same wavelength as and you enjoyed playing with the most?
Did you know what? That's an easy one, that. And I don't want to disrespect the other centre-forwards player, because I play with some amazing centre-forwards at United especially. You know, your Andy Coles, your Dwight Yorks, Teddy Sheringham, Ollie Gunnar at the time as well. But I always felt I had the best connection with Ruud van Nistelrooy. I played the season with him. I think I scored something like 20 goals in one season, playing as a number 10, and sometimes on the left-hand side when Ryan wasn't fit. But I always felt I knew what he wanted. I knew the runs he'd make, and I knew where he wanted the ball. And, you know, what a finisher as well. That man was just hungry, and his life depended on scoring goals. And he was the one I felt I had a great connection. Also, when I played in centre midfield, I think you need a connection. You need a link between your midfield and your forward players. And I always felt with Teddy and Dwight, I love playing with them two as well. And the little ones around the corner, 1-2s. I knew what they wanted, and I always felt that they knew what I wanted. So number 10-wise, I'd say Yorkie and Teddy definitely. But as a number 9, Ruud van Nistelrooy. I love playing with Ruud.
When you played in the centre, Scholesy, you would get the ball on the back foot, second pass would be forward, looking for Ruud. There's not enough midfield players of this generation who do that. Get the ball to the centre halves, take her on the back foot, and then play the next pass forward.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think many midfield players play that way anymore. As you say, the normally pigeonhole the holding midfield players are your number 10. It's, you know, there's so many different types of midfield players. At United, you had to have the thought of playing forward. That was your instinct. That's what you had to do. That's what the manager demanded from you. And sometimes you didn't have to speak to players. I didn't have to speak to York. I didn't have to speak to Teddy. I knew where they'd be. They knew where I'd be. We knew where I'd want the ball. And the same with Ruud van Nistelrooy or Andy Cole or any other centre forwards. You just knew you didn't have to speak to them. It was a little look, and they've gone. They've spun. They're off the shoulder, and you're the one trying to play them in. So I always think that relationship between a midfield player and a forward was important, and probably very similar now to what Bruno Fernandes has brought to United. That link between the midfield attack is something that was needed, and he knows what midfield players want. He knows what the forward player wants, and that makes your attacking game a lot easier and a lot better to watch.
Okay, this is all about your questions you wanted to ask the legend Scholsey, so we are going to try and get through as many as we can. So Scholsey, let's get going. At Football GRF asks, I'd love to know any advice he has for young grassroots players, and what was his grassroots journey like before joining United?
I was playing for school, obviously, like everybody did, up to about 11 years of age, and I go to senior school. I played for a team called St Thomas Moors on a Sunday, Boundary Park on a Saturday, and Boundary Park was full of some unbelievable players. Anyway, you know, there's so many players gone on to play. Trevor Sinclair was one, Nicky Butt played as well. It was full of really good players. So I was lucky enough to play in a good team. My school team was very good. We had a few players who were at Oldham. 11 years of age, Oldham asked me to go and train with them, so I was there from about 11 to 13. To be honest, I didn't really enjoy the training there. It wasn't the best.
Really?
Yeah, they had a really good coach, a tough coach, a man called Graham Hollinshead. But I just never really enjoyed the type of stuff we did. That Nicky was there at the time as well. And then at 13 years of age, we played a school final, and Brian Kidd was there with Archie Knox. I think they were doing the presentation at the end of the game, and obviously Alex Ferguson had come down from Scotland, and the producing youth players and good young players. He brought that down with him, and Brian Kidd started all that off really, and 3 or 4 of us got taken on by Kiddo to go and have a trial, and from then you're there, you're training Tuesday, Thursday night, sometime playing a game on a Saturday and Sunday. In them days, you were allowed to play with your local teams. You didn't really play for United on a Saturday, Sunday. It was more just training-wise up until 16, and then you get to 16 and you wonder if you've got an apprenticeship, and I managed to get one. I was lucky enough with 2 or 3 of the lads from my team as well. Paul O'Keefe, I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah. Wasn't that Owie?
Owie, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Owie, yeah. Paul O'Keefe, lad called Dean Kirby. Do you remember him, centre-half?
Yeah.
Yeah, we all played in the same school team, so it was nice to just go through like we did with the lads that I knew. And then at 16, you're trying your best to get an apprenticeship, aren't you? And try and get to the club properly, and it's a nervous wait, you know it is. You've no idea what's going to happen, and then Kiddo or the manager would come to your house and say, look, we're going to offer you, and you snap their hands off.
So Scholesy, we were obviously in the youth team together. Wow, what times we had. Great times, great days. Can you just explain to people the amount of fun we had, the initiation ceremonies, the nerve-wracking moments, and in fact, you actually hid in the red bus going to Old Trafford one day at a time.
Them days were brutal, weren't they, really? Honestly, you have to, some of the initiation things you have to do, you go back, you ever think about it now, you think, Jesus Christ, it was disgusting. I did anything. Once you knew your training was over and you're thinking about it in training, you're thinking, what the second year is going to make me do at dinner time? I don't want to go back.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So you go and have your dinner, and we used to go and hide in the big gym. Try and get out of the way. And for a lad like me, I was really shy. I didn't really speak to anybody. And to do
you were very quiet.
Oh, very quiet, yeah. And unlike you, I think you quite enjoyed entertaining the lads with whatever they want you to entertain with them. But you go back to them day, you think...
Do you remember the funny movements?
Funny movements, that's all I think about when I see you. Funny movements. I can still see him now going around the dressing room. Absolutely hilarious.
So just explain to the listeners, Scholesy, what we had to do. So every lunchtime, we had to do initiation ceremonies. We had to do things in the dressing room. The second year YTSs would make the first year do certain things. For instance, Scholesy, mine was the funny movements where I had to dance for 30 seconds, the strangest things I could. And we all had to do it. And then, before, even at training, Scholesy, 5 minutes into the end of training, I used to be panicking, thinking, oh, no, I've got to go back to the training ground. I've got to have my dinner and then do these kind of things. And I tell you what, mate, that brought us so together, the camaraderie, the fun, and I think that's why we were so successful.
Yeah, you're probably right. You had to have probably a kind of mental toughness to get through it, didn't you? You did, and I don't know, did that help us with our football on the football pitch, being at such a big club? It probably did, but did we not stop at all? I think
it stopped, didn't it?
One of the lads, one of our year, actually complained to the manager, and from the year after, I think we did little bits with the first years when we were second years, didn't we? But it was never anything like the stuff that was gone on previous years.
No. So going back to the previous question, what advice would you give to grassroots players now, Scholesy? You know, we see some parents, the desperation for their child to make it as a professional footballer. They can see the rewards. You know, if you look at somebody like you, Scholesy, who, you know, was quite small, who had asthma, but battled his way to be, let's be fair, one of the best midfielders in the Premier League and in Europe. So what advice would you give to somebody in the same situation as you?
Well, when I offer advice, I think practice is always the best thing you can do. I think Eric Harrison, you know Eric, don't you? And he was insistent on us even if you have an afternoon off, it wasn't an afternoon off. You go out practice, you practice kicking the ball, practice your headers, do whatever you can do to make you better. I think when I was a kid growing up, I think I watched every game of football that was on TV, and you try to emulate what these great players are doing, what Brian Robson's doing, what Mark Hughes is doing, you know, what these brilliant players are doing. You just try and copy them, whether it be in the afternoon, whether it be in the morning, wherever it can be. Practice, and you will get better. Look, we all develop at different times as well. I was like probably a 10-year-old when I was 16. It took me years and years and years to really mature and come of age. And some people are different. You get your Ryan Giggs at 16, 17. He's a man already. He's a first-team player. Nicky Butt, 17 years of age. He's a man. Gary Neville, they're men. People all develop at different times. So if you are a little bit small and, you know, probably still have the skills and the technical ability, I wouldn't worry about it at 15, 16 years of age, because people grow and they all mature at different times. And, you know, I matured much later than these players did.
Scholesy, what do you think your best attribute was in the youth teams? You know, we see David Beckham, you know, pinging balls and taking free kicks against the cliff wall. We've seen Keith Gillespie running down the wing, taking people on, taking mannequins on. We've seen Nicky Butt, you know, working on the box-to-box runs. What do you think your best attribute was as a youngster?
It's difficult to say, Sam, because I played in so many positions. You know, when you think of my career right from the start to get into 35, 36 years of age, it's so weird in the amount of positions I played. I was a centre forward at first. I came as a 60-year-old kid.
Yeah, centre forward.
I was a number 9, as you call it now. Out and out centre forward, scored 56 goals a season for my junior teams and school teams and Sunday morning teams. And then I became a little bit more of a number 10. I played on the left-hand side of midfield. My first ever game for the old A and B teams?
Yeah.
I actually played left-back in the B team.
Did you?
Yeah, I played left-back in the B team at Liverpool away.
Wow.
I always remember at Melwood Training Ground. So I was never really stuck with a position. I remember Eric Harrison, we used to have the meetings, didn't we, every month or so, and see how you're doing and how you're progressing. And he always told me from being 16 years of age, I think you'd be a midfield player. I think that was probably because I was about 5'2", couldn't run, slow, couldn't head a ball. So I think he was just telling me, you're not a centre forward, but we'll try and find somewhere for you. And thankfully I ended up finding a position which suited me, but that didn't come till much later in my career. Probably even the holding midfield player role, as we like to call it, trying to control play, that didn't happen till probably 29, 30 years of age. That was after I'd retired from England. So, and I think they were probably my best years. I'd say I was probably a better footballer at 33, 34 than I was at 2021.
Right then, Scholesy, we've got to get on to some fans' question. I could sit here and talk to you all day. Right then, Harry Dunsby asks, what was your favourite moment at Manchester United?
So I was there for 20 years, so there are plenty of unbelievable moments at Man United. Of course, we were winning all those trophies. I think as a kid growing up in the playground, you're always thinking about the FA Cup final, scoring a goal in the FA Cup final. So I think the middle part of the treble, really, it was a really big week coming up. I think we had to beat Tottenham on the Saturday or the Sunday. We did that. Then it was FA Cup the week after, before the Champions League final. And I managed to make a goal for Teddy and score a goal as well. So I think scoring a goal in the middle leg of the treble and to do it in the FA Cup final and at Wembley as well was special.
We asked you to record questions on your phones, and here's the first that Kellen emailed savage@bbc.co.uk.
Hiya Paul, a little bit far-fetched this one, but if Sir Alex had have kicked you out of Manchester United in your peak years, which club in the Premier League and which club in Europe would you have most liked to play for?
Well, yeah, it is a bit far, but I'd never wanted to play for anybody else. But no, honestly, I wouldn't really, never had no intention or any ambition to play for it. I didn't have to. I was at the biggest club in the world with all my mates, playing good football, winning trophies. So I'd never had any intention. The clubs I liked abroad, obviously Barcelona, the big club in Spain. And I always liked AC Milan as well in Italy. I think it was more the kit more than the red and black stripes and the white shorts. And the players used to watch Italian football, didn't you, growing up? You think of Baresi and Maldini and Donadoni and Ancelotti at the time as well. Van Basten, centre forward.
Ruud
Gullit as well, yes. Unbelievable team. So, yeah, I think if I had to, never wanted to, but if I had to, Barcelona or AC Milan.
Because did any clubs come in for you as Liam Maguire?
Do you know what? I've absolutely no idea. I was never made aware by the club that a team had been in for me. I did have a phone call of an agent once who said Inter Milan, was I interested in going to Inter Milan? I don't know how true it was. I don't know if it was just a chef from the local Italian who'd rang him or something. But it was never something I wanted to do. Like I said, whether that was the agent was Ryan Giggs' old agent. Remember Harris Wales?
Harris Wales.
The agent, yeah, he rang me during when was the European Championships in Belgium and Holland. Whenever that was through there, I think we played Germany. We beat Germany 1-0. I think it was during that time he rang me asking if I'd be interested in going to Inter Milan, and I just said, look, the only way I leave the club if the club want to sell me, and that was that.
Jake from London wants to know, is it true that you were never on the receiving end of the infamous Fergie hairdryer, either at half-time or after a match?
No, it's not true. I got no, it's definitely not true. I definitely got probably not my fair share. I probably didn't get as much as everyone else. But I do remember one particularly bad one was Newcastle away. I think I was sub actually. I was sub at the time. Still got bollocks. I think we might have been 2-0 down, 2 or 3-0 down maybe. I came on. I think we got it back to. I'm not saying it's down to me. I didn't score, but I think we got it back to 3-3 with about 15 minutes to go. And I'd done all right. I made a couple of chances. I think I made a goal, and I could have scored a couple of times. Had a couple of chances. So I thought I made a little bit of a difference. And then about 15 minutes ago, I tried a back heel in probably around the halfway line, and they broke. I think Shearer scored. And then afterwards, the manager went absolutely ballistic at me. And it was the first time I ever answered back.
Really?
And it was never something I'd ever do because I'd seen people answer back. I'd seen Inti answer back to him, and I'd seen Peter Schmeichel answer back to him, and it doesn't end well. Trust me. And I just kept answering back to him, and I was wrong, really. And that was never me. Whenever I was getting a bollocking, I just took it. But for this one occasion, I didn't think it was merited because I thought, I'd made a little bit of a difference to the team, got us back in the game, really. I got an absolute rock. But some people love arguing with him. Giggsy's one. Giggsy can't keep his mouth shut. Whether he's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. David Beckham was the same.
What was
He'd
Nev
always
like?
have a pop back, but I'd never say a word. No, he just took it. Nev, he's answering back I think he just took it most of the time, and I was the same. I just took it most of the time. But this one time, I didn't agree with him. All right, I gave the ball away, and they went up and scored, but. No, we were 3-0 down at the time when I come on, so I didn't agree with him. And anyway, on the Monday morning train, I thought, right, that's it, I'm not playing again, mate. He's going to kill me. And he'd come up to me Monday, put his arm around me and said, look, I'm sorry about Saturday. And what happened? He said, I was wrong, you made a difference. And that was just a measure of the man, really. He knew if he was wrong. And if I was wrong, to be fair, I'd have gone and said I'd have apologised to him as well. That's just the way it was. It was done and dusted. It doesn't carry on then for the rest of the week into the next game, wondering what he's thinking. It's done and it's off your mind.
At Mugabe B. Chirara got in touch on Twitter, Scholsey, and asked, why doesn't he think it didn't work out with him, Keane and Veron in that midfield? It now looks like a classic 4-3-3 with Ruud van Nistelrooy, Giggs and Becks. Was Fergie ahead of his time?
Look, Veron was a brilliant player. Obviously, I don't speak outright. Everyone knows what a player he was. It just wasn't the way we played. We were always a 4-4-1-1 or a 4-4-2. We're very, very simple. And 4-3-3 was never something we ever did. We might have done it on the odd occasion in European games, especially away European games against big teams. We used to play, I wouldn't call it a 4-3-3, I'd call it more of a 4-5-1, where we did used to do that with Fletcher, Carrick and me, or Veron,
Rooney
Keane
on the
and
left.
me.
Rooney on the left.
Rooney out on the left-hand side. Yeah, sometimes Ronaldo through the middle because you couldn't rely on him defensively. But no, look, good players, but the system at that time just didn't suit all three of us being in the team.
Jonathan emailed in and wondered who, at their full throttle, was the scariest, Cantona, Keane or Sir Alex?
Oh, definitely not Cantona. Cantona helped you massively. Keane and Sir Alex were very similar characters, exactly the same. Keane on the pitch, so I was playing next to him, was frightening. He was like the manager on the football pitch. He demanded the most out of you. If you're next to him, if you made a mistake, just that little look in his eyes, oh no, he's going to kill me. And very much the same with the manager, you know. They were both very helpful in what they did. Okay, they had tempers, of course they did, but they were both, I think the characters were both very similar. That they're both determined, both aggressive, but both wanted the best for you. Both wanted the best for all the players around them. Both wanted the best for the football club. And all they were there to do was to get you through games and make sure you win games. But I can't really say one over the other. If I did have to say one, you'd probably go for the manager because he's the one you answer to all the time. He's the one who wants you in the team. But Roy was a fearsome character as well. But I'm not saying it. You can go in your shell, can't you, and hide and be scared of that. But no, there's no point. You can't do that, Man United. You have to stand up to him at times and you have to give him what he wants. And that's why he was the leader on the football pitch.
On that, Scholsey, what was I like to play against?
It's just a nuisance, weren't you? When I played centre midfield, I like to go into games thinking, I just want to have all the time in the world here, just nobody around me, just find a little bit of space, pass the ball around, and then you play against people like you, absolute nuisance, trying to elbow you, closing you down dead quick. I don't want that. I just want a nice and relaxed afternoon. But no, yeah, you was awkward, weren't you? You got around the pitch, as I said, you quality free kicks as well, so people don't give you enough credit there for your set piece play.
Yeah, thanks, Scholesy. It was decent, wasn't it?
Like Robbie Beckham.
Robbie.
Yeah. When you ask about awkward players to play against, I was never. It's different when you're a centre forward playing against a centre half because you're directly up against someone, or a winger playing against a fullback. You're directly up against someone. As a midfield player, and especially the way I played, I didn't really have to beat people. I didn't have to be stronger than the other person. I didn't have to be quicker than the other person at times. It was more my passing that beat them. I suppose the awkward ones, obviously Patrick Vieira, you played against him. He's so long, he's so big. You think you've got the ball, next minute he nicks the ball over your head. He was a clever player as well because he could play 1-2s round you. He could score goals, he could make goals. And do you know what? There's one more that people won't think of. He used to play against Portsmouth. Do you remember Papa Bouba Diop?
Yeah.
Played for Fulham as well.
Yeah. Oh.
Big, massive. They used to call him the wardrobe or something.
Yeah.
And do you know what? You get involved physically with him, you're absolutely wasting your time. And I always found him awkward to play against. Look, he wasn't a Patrick Vieira, of course he wasn't, but he still had talent. But as far as players being awkward to play against, I always found him a nuisance, yeah.
Our next question was recorded by Keelan and emailed into us.
It's Keelan from Derry here. My question to Scholesy is, was there anyone during your time at United that you heard that Ferguson might be signing that you got quite excited for, but end up, the transfer didn't end up going through?
I always remember 2 or 3 that were possibly coming. I remember Harry Kewell was one, and you knew what a good player he was. I don't know if you played with him, actually. Did you play with him?
I played against him, Scholesy. When he was at Leeds, mate, he was unstoppable, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was brilliant, yeah. I think he ended up turning us down and go to Liverpool, which didn't really bother us that much. I think Damien Duff at the time was one as well. Arjen Robben, I think he was very close to coming. These are all I look at as a midfield player. You look forward to playing with quick players who can run with the ball and score your goals. But I think the one that stands out is Ronaldinho. I can't remember what year it was, but I really think the manager got him. I think we was away pre-season. I think it was as close as announcing him and giving him the number, but I think he ended up changing his mind at the last minute and signing for Barcelona. And it's strange, really, because that pre-season tour, we were actually playing against Barcelona. So we were all excited. Ronaldinho, what a player. I think he was coming from PSG at the time. I thought we're all going to get to play with him, and he's going to bring something special. It seemed almost like what Cantona brought to the team, and then the next minute, 3 days later, I think we're playing against him in Seattle, so everyone's trying to kick him. Wow. So we're trying to boot him because he didn't sign for us, which was disappointing. But yeah, look, I'm not bothered. I was lucky enough to play with so many great players. You know that, Sav. He'd have just been another unbelievable player that I might have had a chance to play with, but it never happened.
Going on to England now, Scholsey, and there's been loads of questions about England. Why didn't England come close to winning anything under the so-called golden generation? Asks at C. Pete.
Do you know what, Sav? I don't know. I think teams were just better than us, we thought. And probably right. So we had some amazing players. You think of the centre half, the defender, Gary Neville. We had David Seaman in goal. You think of Ferdinand, John Terry, Ashley Cole left back, then Lampard, Gerrard in midfield, David Beckham, Michael Owen up front. You think it should have been a team. It should have won something. Well, we all think it should have won something, but was we as good as the press thought we was, or probably at times we thought we was? Because then you look at the teams that did win in our era. You're thinking about Spain, probably not so much Germany in our era, but France. You look at France's team with Zidane and Petit and Vieira. Okay. They were unbelievable teams as well. So maybe we just come up against teams that in that era, maybe at a different time, we might have gone to win something, but just at that time, Spain, France especially, were better teams than us.
Lee Taylor recorded this question for you, Scholesy.
Hi, Scholesy. Hi, Sav. I want the big question answered and solved for everybody. Who is or who was the very best central midfielder for England? Was it yourself? Was it Frank Lampard? Or was it Stevie G? Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Stevie G and Frank, of course it was. No, look, people have... I'm sick to death of hearing about this, to be honest. It doesn't really matter. People have their own opinions, won't they? Some people think one's better than the others. Do you know what? Them two were amazing players. I think Steve is different players as well. I think Frank played the position well. He was in a team at Chelsea where he was allowed to do what he want basically as a forward. He's more of a centre forward, playing as a number 10 or in between a 10 and a 9. And he just had the licence to go with Makelele there and people in behind him. He was a brilliant, probably the best midfield goal scorer that you'll ever see and there'll ever be, and his record suggests that. Stephen could do absolutely everything on a football pitch, couldn't he? When he played on the right-hand side, he was quick, he was strong, he was physical, he could score goals, he could make goals. I'd say defensive probably wasn't his strength, and it was probably none of our strengths. I retired at 29, and that was before I really went into that central midfield as a holding player, really, as more of a playmaker and a controller of play. And I would have liked... No, I retired at 29, and obviously it was too early. I shouldn't have done that. I look back on that, I think that was a stupid thing to do. And then when I went back to United...
Why did you do it, Scholes? Did you regret it? Do you regret that, yeah? Yeah,
I do. Well, at the time, I felt it was the right thing to. I wasn't enjoying it one bit, and I had a very young family at the time as well, and I felt I was going away for 10 days at a time, wasn't enjoying it. Then going to a World Cup, European Championship, sometimes you're away for 6 weeks, and I felt bad for the family actually. I had 2 young kids at the time. I always felt guilty going away. I know I shouldn't have done it. You look back now, kids are like 18, 20 and 15, and you think maybe I should have carried on a little bit longer. And when I was still 28, 29, I was still expected to score goals. When I first came on the scene with England, I scored like 9 and 18. I was flying. I couldn't do anything wrong, really. But then I don't think I scored for like 35 games or something ridiculous, really. And I wish I'd have stayed there. Because, as I said before in a similar question, I think between 20 and 25, 26, 27, I was all right, but I could get into goal scoring positions and do that type of thing. But I think I became a better player once I got over 30 because I was a better footballer. Cause I knew a little bit more. I educated myself into that position. Sir Alex obviously helped me getting into that position where you weren't going forward all the time. You had to control play, especially in big European games, European nights. And I was never really given that chance with England. I never got to that stage with England where somebody could change me into that type of player, whereas with United, that happened. And you see like a Pirlo, when he was playing with Italy, he played that position all the time, didn't he? That was where he was brought up. He was never really anything else. And that probably where it went against me, because I played in so many positions. I played as a centre-forward, I played as number 10, I played on the left-hand side, and I never really played in that position I felt from 30 to 35, where I felt probably most comfortable throughout my career.
You mentioned your family there, Scholsey. Darren Cornelius asked, do you feel more nervous watching your daughter play netball than you did playing football? And what, if any, advice would you give to her?
There are times, honestly, watching netball, it's such a nervous game when your daughter's play. But do you know what? I enjoy going and watching the Thunder games. I love watching netball. My daughter's got me watching it all on TV all the time. But when them games are close, there's nothing like it, honestly. When it's going, there's a minute left, you need to, your daughter needs to pass the ball to the big, tall, massive shooter to try and get in there. It's horrible, and it goes up the other end, and you look at the clock, and there's fouls. It's a brilliant game to watch, exciting game to watch, especially when it's close like that. It's amazing to watch. As for advice, I just tell her to concentrate and enjoy herself. She does tend to get... She's very similar to me. She plays in the middle of the pitch. She's quicker than me, which isn't hard. But she's very... She gets emotional. She gets, really... She's really passionate about it, and I just try and tell her to relax and concentrate. When I say she's like me, the manager always said to me, don't get bored. You see, he used to think he got bored in games and start messing about and start, smacking it outside of your foot. And to be fair, I only did that when we were 3 or 4-0 up, but I do like to entertain now and again. And she's very similar. If she's winning by 10, 15 or something, she'll throw the ball from the halfway line, lob it right into the sentence. It don't come off sometimes. So that she looks at me and I give her a little look and stop messing about. But no, I love watching it. It's great to watch. As with Aaron with football as well, it's... you're very nervous for him watching him. You're hoping they do well. You're hoping they score, they contribute to the game. And it's the same with any parent. Every parent's the same. I'm sure you're the same with Charlie.
Yeah.
Watching him play for Wales or United, whatever it is. It's nerve-wracking, especially at the level that they're at.
Darren also asked Scholsey, because I asked Michael this question last week. Well, a fan asked Michael this question. Did you ever suffer from nerves when you played?
So I like to be nervous for every game. There was the odd game here and there where I didn't feel anything, and it wasn't right. I went into the game, didn't play well, and if I felt I wanted to be nervous on the Friday night before a Saturday game, Saturday morning. I wanted to be nervous. You need to have that little. I loved having that little bit of butterflies in my stomach. We actually did a Q&A with a class in '92 a few months ago, and we got asked this question, and Nicky and Ryan said they were never ever nervous before a game, and I can't understand that. I wanted to be on the Friday night, right, who am I playing against tomorrow? I'm thinking about, God, he's a good player. I've got to do this tomorrow, I've got to do that. And on the Saturday morning, exactly the same. So I was supposed to relieve it. I used to go for a walk every Saturday morning with Gaz, actually, with Gary Neville. We used to, because we stayed in Manchester with the team on the night before a game, every morning, 9, 10 o'clock, we used to go for a walk, have a coffee in Starbucks, and just really talk about the game, really. Gary was very similar to me. He liked to be nervous. He got a little bit nervous along with Phil as well, and maybe that just calmed us down a little bit.
Andy's emailed a good one, Scholsey. What player currently playing would you say is the most similar to you in terms of fantastic spatial awareness, vision and understanding of the game? Which modern day player now would you say is the most like you?
I've had to think about this, and I don't think there's many players
like you. There's not.
I was like, no, I don't think there is. I think if there's been one in the last couple of years, I'd like to think I played a little bit like Luka Modric. He's he's different to me because he was quicker than me. He could beat a man. But I see certain traits in him controlling again. Also, Toni Kroos, them two players. I think when I've watched them for Real Madrid and them great European Cup winning teams, they're the two players. Probably more towards Toni Kroos of a passer and a more of a controlling player. Doesn't really get involved physically with people. Scores the odd goal here and there. Modric, I'd say, but a little bit less so because he was, like I say, he was quicker. He could beat men. He could go beat 3 or 4 men, but still played in that controlling type of way. And I think if I chose one out of the two, I think it'd be more like Kroos than Modric.
I was asked that question.
I wish I could play like Modric, actually. It was brilliant, wasn't it?
I was asked that question about me, Scholsey, and my son answered it for me. Who do you think my son Charlie said I resembled in the modern day?
In the modern day? I don't know. Go on, let me know.
He said Scott McTominay.
Yeah.
What do you
I can
mean,
see
yeah?
that.
Yeah.
Both really good players. I like Scott. Scott's a good player. You're a good player. I think you might have him on the set pieces with them whipping free kicks and corners in. But Scott also contributes with goals that aren't set pieces as well. Two really good players. Yeah, Charlie's right. Right.
Yeah.
I think Scott's a little bit better, but yeah, Charlie's right.
Connor sent in 3 quick-fire questions, Scholesy. Who was the best player you played with?
Ryan Giggs. Again, played with loads of brilliant players. Roy Keane next to me, but Ryan Giggs without a shadow of a doubt.
Who, in your opinion, is better, Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo?
Impossible to answer. Absolutely impossible. I think what the two have done, I'm not sitting on the fence. I think they're both, well, everybody knows they're both amazing players. The amount of goals they score is just ridiculous. What they've done in their career is amazing. I couldn't separate them. There's no way in the world I will separate them. I don't think they ever should be.
Choose your ultimate 5-a-side team involving players that you played with, and you're in the team, Scholesy. So 4 other players in a 5-a-side team. Michael asked that. We asked that to Michael, and his team was like, "Wow, what a team he had! He had Zidane. What a team his was, Scholesy. You got to beat his 5-a-side team, but you're in it."
No, you just mentioned Zidane, so I don't think I'm going to beat that team, am I? Ronaldo, Rooney, Giggs.
You, and who's the goalie?
Do we need a defender and a keeper?
The goalie. You're in it. So
I forgot about me.
Yeah.
Forgot about me. Goal is difficult between Edwin and Peter Schmeichel. Now I'll go for Peter. Peter was amazing.
So your team is Schmeichel.
Yep.
Scholes, Rooney, Ronaldo, Giggs. Wow, what a team that is, Scholesy. Right, a bit of light-hearted stuff now, Scholesy. Gareth Clark asks, if you had the choice of winning the Football Club World Cup, the badminton trophy at a local gym, or the Manchester Golf Club Captain's Final, what would it be?
He's won one of them, and that's why he's asking now.
Oh, Clark has won one of them, has he?
Yeah, and it's not the badminton final or the World Cup, is it? He's not bad at golf. What would I have? The Football World Cup, of course it would. Stupid question, Gareth.
Yeah, stupid question, Gareth. Are you, Coop Dog 1979 asks, are you still playing off a handicap of 6? And what's a realistic handicap for you to get to?
No, I'm playing off 7 now.
You've gone up.
I've had a bad year. Yeah, I've gone up. Yeah, I had a bad couple of years. What can I get to? 5, maybe?
Yeah, 5? Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll try, yeah. I'll try. If we can get out of this house, yeah, maybe, yeah.
Dean asks, have you always been so miserable? What makes you smile?
Yeah, I am very, very miserable, as you know, Sav. Very miserable. What makes me smile?
Yeah, not a lot. Your family, golf, badminton.
Yeah, that comes out saying, doesn't it? Yeah, family, a bit of golf. Yeah, plenty makes me smile. It's just, I do come across as quite miserable, which I'm not bothered about.
Management scores. Would you ever like to go back into management, do you think? Did you enjoy it while it lasted?
Do you know what? I did. I loved it while I was there. It was only a month, but as you know. But no, look, I loved it. It was interesting. Won 1 game out of 7, but working with the players every day. Do you know what? It was great. Players were brilliant. They tried the best every single day. obviously they're at a level where the standard isn't great, but their standards every day. They were always trying to be the best they possibly could, whether it be a young player at 19, 20 years of age, or it's Peter Clark at 37, 38. The dedication to their profession really surprised me, actually. I thought it'd be a little bit shoddy and wouldn't be great, and that's why they were down at that level, but it was... I couldn't be further from the truth. There were players still there at 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, getting treatment, doing exercise in the gym. I was amazed by all that, and I loved it. Look, I'm sorry it came to an end, of course I am, but before I went in there were certain things that I needed reassuring on, and I did get the reassurance at the time, but then they went back on that, so that's why I'm sat at home now. Well, that's why everyone's sat at home now, I suppose.
Elliot wants to know, where do you see Salford City in 5 years' time?
5 years? We've had a tough season this year so far. We're still in with a shout at the playoffs, depending what happens in these next few months. Of course, we've no idea how that's going to be. But I think with the investment we're putting into it, we've got a really experienced manager. The quality of player now that's come into the club is better. 5 years, if we can be close to getting the Championship, then I think that'll be a job really well done.
Right, Scholsey, our final audio question comes from Asia.
Hello, Robbie Savage. Hello, Paul Scholes. This is Sudeep Dwivedi calling from India. Huge fan of Paul Scholes. Huge fan of Robbie Savage and 606. When I was young, I read an article on the newspaper that Paul Scholes had asthma, and yet you performed so well for Manchester United, and you performed at the pinnacle of the sport, and you won every accolade possible at that time. Paul, how do you view asthma in your life? So it was a positive influence or a negative influence? I want to ask this.
I don't think it was either. I think it was just something that we found out when I was probably 18 years of age. I remember going for a test with the physio Dave Fever at the time. Yeah. And it was I only had a very, very mild form of asthma. That was obviously when I played sport. Other than that, look, I did suffer through the winter time, obviously with bad chesty coughs and what have you. Being out in the cold wasn't really ideal. But no, it never something that really affected. I had to take an inhaler every day, and we had a special one before the game and one at half time. But I never felt anything would have been different whether I was asthmatic or not.
Scholesy, a couple for me, quick ones. Your greatest goal, was it the Bradford volley or the Villa volley, or was it Barcelona 25-yarder? Which one was your special?
No, it's not the Barcelona one. That was a miss kick. I think the best goal was the Villa one. You have to think about it. I always categorise this as in the best one and the most important one. I think the best one was definitely the Aston Villa one from 25 yards, whatever it was. I just caught it so sweet. It was all tight. Sometimes you think you can whack it, but I didn't. I don't know why. It was just like so smooth and just hit through the ball, and it seemed to rocket off my foot. Most important was obviously, I've got two most important ones actually. One was City away in the 93rd minute, 3 minutes of injury time.
On to Evra again. Evra's got room. Left of the penalty. Crosses. Scholes with a header into the net. And Manchester United have a dramatic winner in the final seconds of stoppage time. It keeps them in the title hunt. City 0, United 1, Paul Scholes.
Local lad beating Manchester City 1-0 past Shea Given. That was brilliant. I love that. But the most important, obviously, was Barcelona semi-final. I think both games were 0-0. There was only one goal over the two legs, so that helped us get to the final.
And I remember when you come out of retirement, Scholesy, when you retired, then it was Man City away, wasn't it, when you come on? And for that game, you had to go to the local shop and buy your own boots.
JJB, or is it DW now? And I bought a pair of boots. I think they're about 50 quid. They were all the ones the lads were wearing, obviously. The same colours and stuff, the same patterns and what have you, but I believe I bought the cheap ones. It wasn't until I was actually warming up on a pitch, and I couldn't get a pair of boots off night. They couldn't send me a pair because we couldn't tell them. Nobody knew. Obviously, it was a big secret, and it didn't get announced till actually the teams were announced at City. And in the FA Cup. So I pull these boots out, and I thought they were good ones. Can I pay 50 quid on these boots? These must be belters, these. And I start warming up, and Johnny Evans looks down and says, "Are they the snide ones you bought, are these?" "What do you mean snide? What's wrong with them?" And apparently I had plastic ones. Anyway, no, they were all right. Actually, that game was a bit of a disaster for me, actually, because I came on in the game. I think we were 3-0 up.
Oh, yes.
City, in the FA Cup, they had a man sent off. Vincent Kompany got sent off. I come on, and 5 minutes after coming on, it's 3-2. And I was absolutely bricking it. What am I doing? Why have I come back here? What am I thinking of? But anyway, the rest of that season ended up okay. Obviously, did we win the league? No, we didn't win the league that year, but we managed to win it the year after.
And final question, Scholesy. As footballers, in our careers, we'll have friends, them friends become acquaintances, and you never really get special relationships. I can't even count on one hand probably footballers I still speak to, maybe because they didn't like me, Scholesy, but you're in a fortunate position where you won all those trophies, you play for Manchester United all your life, and now the class of 92, you've ended up with special friends for life through that generation of your whole career, and that must be so special to you.
Yeah, of course. I think it's special to all of us. We probably have to thank Gary for it, really, for sticking us all together, obviously, with different projects that we're doing with the Salford, with the hotels and stuff. We don't really get involved that much. We let Gary get involved with that. Obviously, there's dinners we go to together. We do Q&As together. And we actually play quite a few five-a-side games together at the Hotel Football. There's a pitch on the roof, and we donate so many five-a-sides a year that people can buy, and they can come and play with us, have a drink with us, have something to eat with us afterwards. And we're actually unbeaten on the roof. Can you get a team together, all right?
We will get a team together, Scholesy, almost certainly. And to be fair, I was going to say, it looks like you're eating and drinking quite a lot at the minute.
I've been working out.
Scholesy, thank you so much for your time, mate. Before you go, on the next podcast, we're speaking to Rio Ferdinand. I want to kick off that podcast with your question. So, what is the one question you'd like to ask Rio? Ask it, and we'll play this audio to him.
Right, okay. Rio, Scholesy here. Hope you're okay, mate. A couple of questions for you. The first one, I don't think you'll answer honestly. Who is the two-touch champion? Come on, be honest. We all know the answer. And secondly, other than me, who was your favourite person to pass the ball into midfield to? All the best, Rio.
Thanks for listening. Keep an eye on social media for other players we are speaking to in this series for your chance to ask a question. The Savage Social is a Shooting Shark production for BBC Radio 5 Live, BBC Sounds.